Welcome to the PivotWorks front wheel bearing replacement video. In this video we'll show you how to install a front wheel bearing replacement kit including the bearings and seals. We begin this video at the part where the wheel has already been removed from the bike and we're preparing to remove the collars. This is where the collars fit inside the seals. These collars go between the fork and the wheel hub. Now remove the seals, prying gently with a flat blade screwdriver. Make sure you don't damage or scratch the inside of the hub, and do the same thing for the other side. Now you're ready to drive out the bearing. And again, we're using the extension because it's disposable and it's got a good blunt end on the end and strong enough and long enough to drive things out with. You can see in this case the bearing popped right out, and along with it comes the spacer. You can see the other wheel bearing through the inner hub, and that's the one we're going to drive out next. Use the extension or bearing driver and it should pop right out. Now we're going to clean out the hub where the seal and the bearings fit. It's important not to use chlorinated cleanser because that can eat up the rubber seals. With our kit in hand, we are now ready to begin the installation. Carefully remove the parts from the packaging. And here's the trick. You probably won't have to heat up the hub, but it's a good idea to freeze the bearings before installing them. It only takes about 15 minutes, but it makes a huge difference in terms of getting the bearings to drive in smoothly. Most of the bearings on motorcycles have an interference fit, which means that the bearing is actually larger than the area that it's going to be driven into. This is sometimes also called a press fit. Using heat and cold to shrink and expand parts works great with bearings, especially if you don't have a hydraulic press. Now you can begin to get the bearing started with a small hammer and begin tapping it in until it's perfectly aligned with the hub. Now using a socket or bearing driver that matches the outer diameter of the bearing exactly, begin to drive the bearing in carefully, making sure it remains in alignment. Tap evenly around the outside edge of the socket, and usually we flip it over once we know we've got a good start, and then drive the bearing home. You can tell when the bearing's home by the sound and feel. Now clean out the area thoroughly where the bearing seats in the hub. Make sure there's no burrs or scrapes or scratches in that area. Be sure you clean the collar and all the parts completely before reassembly. This is the collar that fits between the two bearings inside the hub, so you'll need to put that in before doing the other bearing. Now, using exactly the same method as on the other side, drive in the bearing with a driver or socket. What we're doing here is making sure the spacer aligns with the bearings before we drive it in all the way. And now we finish seating the bearing, making sure everything remains in alignment, and make sure we have a good clean area for the seal to fit. Compressed air works great if you've got it to clean out the inside of the hub before putting in the seals, but you can use a rag and some cleaner. Just make sure it's non-chlorinated cleanser because you don't want to eat into the rubber in the seals. Now coat the inside of the seal with a good quality lubricant and place the seal into place using your thumbs, or you can use a rubber hammer or a little ball peen hammer to make sure the edges are perfectly aligned with the hub. It's a good idea to run your finger around the edge of the seal to make sure it fits smoothly and evenly with the edge of the hub and is not cocked sideways. Now install the seal in the same way on the other side. Lightly coat the axle with some good quality grease. Don't overdo it, but make sure the area is fully covered. We use Bel-Ray products. Insert the collar into the new seal and make sure it's free to rotate smoothly. Now turn the wheel over, repeat the process for the other side, and the job is complete. Reinstall the wheel and you're good to go.